Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Down Vishnupad Padamamsa Padvajikacharya Asra Tarasita Shishmad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Down Vishnupad Padamamsa Padvajikacharya Asra Tarasita Shishmad. Shringa Guru Shida Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantikoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Premsiko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Gita Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jumudamaya Gangamaya Ki Jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Shrimati Subhadra Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Gornitai Ki Jai. New Dwarkadam Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Haribo. All glories to all the summer devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to all the summer devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to all the summer devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 18. We're in text number 6, and it is the battle between Lord Boar and the demon Hiranyaksha. So this is a divine combat. We're going to explore the epic fight between good and evil. So this proudly and falsely glorious Daitya, he paid little heed to the words of Varuna. So he approaches this fault finder demon, he approaches Lord Vraha. Are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? So this is one of his insults or one of his critiques. So get right into the verse. Satu jamano vidurukta tomarar damstra gragam gam upalakshabitam todam rishaniragadam bumadyad grahahataha sakarenur yetaba. Satu jamano vidurukta tomarar damstra gragam gam upalakshabitam todam rishaniragadam bumadyad grahahata sakarenur yetaba. Satu jamano vidurukta tomarar damstra gragam gam upalakshabitam todam rishaniragadam bumadyad grahahata sakarenur yeteba. you like? Satu Dhyamano Ridurukta Tomarar Anyone else? Tamstragragam gamupalakshabitam Todamrishaniragadambumadyad Grahatasa karena yateba Satu Dhyamano Radurukta Tomrar Damstragragam gamupalakshabitam Todamrishaniragadambumadyad Grahatasa karenur yatebya. Vaishnavis. Satu Dhyamano Ridurukta Tomar Damstragragam gamupalakshabitam Todamrishaniragadambumadyad Grahatasa karenur yatebya. Satu Dhyamano Ridurukta Tomarar Tomaralakshagitam Tasakrenur yatebya. Saha, he, to Dhyamana, being pained, Ari, of the enemy, Durukta, by the abusive words, Tomarai, by the weapons, Damstragra, on the ends of his tusks, Gam, situated, Gam, the earth, Upalaksha, seen, Bitam, frightened, Todam, the pain, Mrishan, bearing, Niragat, he came out, Ambumadyat, from the midst of the water, Graha, by a crocodile, Ahataha, attacked, Sakarenu, along with the she-elephant, Yata, as, Iba, an elephant. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he rose out of the water, just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. Although the Lord was pained, please repeat, by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he rose out of the water, just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. Purport. The Mayavadi philosopher cannot understand that the Lord has feelings. The Lord is satisfied if someone offers him a nice prayer. And similarly, if someone decries his existence or calls him by ill names, God is dissatisfied. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is decried by the Mayavadi philosophers, who are almost demons. They say that God has no head, no form, no existence, no legs, hands, or other bodily limbs. In other words, they say that he is dead or lame. All these misconceptions of the Supreme Lord are the source of dissatisfaction to him. He is never pleased with such atheistic descriptions. In this case, although the Lord felt sorrow from the piercing words of the demon, he delivered the earth for the satisfaction of the demigods, who are ever his devotees. The conclusion is that God is as sentient as we are. He is satisfied by our prayers and dissatisfied by our harsh words against him. In order to give protection to his devotee, he is always ready to tolerate insulting words from the atheists. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana Tamadandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshusunmanitamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swaramupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakopa Tubhischa Kripasindubhacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the translation again. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he rose out of the water, just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. So descriptive and visual descriptions in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here, this is where we are in this pastime, in these chapters of the third canto. 17 to 19 are the pastimes of Lord Vraha. And we happen to be in this chapter 18, which is the battle between Lord Boar and the demon Hiranyaksha. And so we are in this particular section here, though, the demon criticizing Lord Vraha. So we're in particular, the verse we're on is 6, and here we're seeing the tolerance of the Lord. Although pained, he bore the pain, which is in the verse. Very nice. So what does this have to do with anything? So this is a visual description of Jambudvipa. And in the 5th canto, it's described that this Jambudvipa is compared to a giant lotus flower with Mount Meru situated in its whirl, like a pericarp. So Meru is a golden mountain said to be 84,000 yojanas high, and surrounding Meru are these 4 mountains you can see there. They resemble its belt. And there's many other mountains around its base. So does anyone know what a pericarp is? As described. That Mount Meru is situated in its whirl like a pericarp. So the pericarp is a part of a fruit. It's formed from the wall of the ripened ovary. So actually plants have ovaries. And it's a hollow base of the carpel of a flower, and it contains 1 or more ovals. And what is a carpel? A carpel is the female productive organ of a flower. And it consists of an ovary, a stigma, and usually a style. And it may occur singly or as a group. So this in the middle is like a fruit. It's bearing some fruit from a flower, the lotus flower. We'll show another image of that also. So we have to recognize that these vivid descriptions of these celestial realms, they represent a higher reality beyond our direct sensory experience. So it requires some faith and some imagination on our part to comprehend it. So here's another graphic describing the same idea here of the Jambudvip Varshas, or the different Varnas. And it shows the deities of the different residences. So there's 9 islands, and in the 5th canto, it describes that there's 9 different incarnations in these different islands. So it describes, there's a verse that says, to show mercy to his devotees in each of these 9 Varnas, the Supreme Lord Narayan expands himself in the various forms, and he remains near his devotees to accept their service. So there's several chapters in the 5th canto, and it describes all the prayers given by the residents of these different islands to the different incarnations of Krishna. So in one of those islands, and we'll see on top here, this is where Lord Vraha resides, in this place known as Uttarakuru. And the inhabitant there is Mother Earth. She's actually offering prayers. So there's some very nice prayers there. I'll just mention some of them here, which describes Lord Boar. So it described there first that the Lord Boar's incarnation lives in the northern part of Jambudvip. He's worshipped with devotion in Uttakuru Varsha. So there's Upanishad mantras that are chanted for his worship by his devotees. And this is what they describe. He is known and understood through the chanting of mantras. He represents sacrifice and rituals, is a supreme person. He purifies the actions of the living beings and appears visibly in 3 yugas. So it also emphasizes that the Lord can only be truly revealed through devotion, bhakti, not through indirect methods like ritualistic activities or mental processes. Despite various attempts to understand him, the Lord remains concealed until one genuinely seeks him through devotion. So this is continuing the prayer from Mother Earth. I'm just kind of summarizing. Further highlights there, Mother Earth, is that while Lord creates the material world through his energy Maya, he himself is beyond the influence of Maya. And those who are intelligent and practice yoga, bhakti, they can understand his real form. So then she explains there that the material creation is not the Lord's desire, but he creates it for the conditioned souls through his energy Maya. And it compares the Lord's influence to a magnet that moves a piece of iron. So just like material nature is inert, but with the energy of Krishna, it causes it to move. So this is described by the different qualities, the different gunas. So finally, there's a verse, she ends, there's several verses, I think there's 6 verses that she praises Lord Vrahadev. So at the end she says, she praises Lord Vrahadev for his pastimes as the original boar who defeated the demon Hiranyaksha and lifted her from the Garbhodak ocean on his tusks. Drawing a comparison to an elephant plucking a lotus flower, she humbly offers her respects to him. So in other words, there's some more descriptions of an elephant and how easy it is for the Lord to lift the earth, just like a lotus flower. So here we go. You can see the middle of the flower there. That's like the fruit. So it's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Lila chapter 21. It talks about the opulence and the sweetness of Lord Krishna. And there it describes how the shape of the spiritual sky is compared to a lotus flower. And the topmost region of that flower is called the whorl. And within that whorl is Krishna's abode. So the petals of the spiritual lotus flower consists of many Vaikuntha planets. And each Vaikuntha planet is full of opulence, full of bliss, and they have so much space there, and they're all inhabited by different incarnations of Krishna. So it's described there how even Lord Brahma can't, or Lord Shiva can't estimate the breadth and the length of the spiritual sky. So what to speak of ourselves? So this is what, there's a prayer there, they're quoting here. O Supreme Great One, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Super Soul, Master of all mystic power, your pastimes are taking place continuously in these worlds, but who can estimate where, how, and when you're employing your spiritual energy and performing your pastimes? No one can understand the mystery of these activities. So Krishna, his activities, his qualities, so many things, they're just unlimited. So here's the last verse I'll read from that chapter. In time, great scientists may be able to count all the atoms of the universe, all the stars and planets in the sky, and all the particles of snow. But who among them can count the unlimited transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He descends on the surface of the globe for the benefit of all living entities. So here he appeared as Lord Rahadev, and we're going to see one of his qualities of tolerance and forbearing like that. So as is described in the 5th canto, you lifted me, the earth, from the Garbhodak ocean on the end of your tusk, exactly as a sporting elephant plucks the lotus flower from the water. I bow down before you. So some more visual descriptions of these verses. So that's the verse there. And so in this particular verse, it's described that he rose out of the water just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. So that's another visual to bring to life these words of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So, yours truly. So here's another description here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is decried by the Mayavadi philosophers, who are almost demons. And they say God has no head, no form, no existence, no legs or other bodily limbs. In other words, they say he's dead or lame. So the best thing we could come up with is like light. Okay, he's like light. It has no form. It has no bodily existence. So these are just the descriptions of the demons. This is how they're describing that. But we see he has unlimited qualities, unlimited forms, unlimited activities. And this is one of them. And it's very nice. Mother Earth is praying in the 5th canto. It's actually chapter 18, and there's a couple of verses there it describes how. And the essence of her prayers, I'll just mention a few here, where she talks about. So she says, she's offering her sincere prayers, and she has deep devotion and longing, and recognizes his significance, in their lives. So she's appreciating that. So her prayer acknowledges the various divine attributes of Lord Rahadev, how he's been known through mantras, and how his body represents the different sacrifices, like his different limbs, you see. And they purify all the actions of the living beings. And he appears in different yugas. So it also emphasizes the power of bhakti, devotional service. And it's the only means to really understand him. So she continues in her prayers how, the prayer dwells into the nature of material creation and its relationship with the Lord. So it recognizes that the material world is not created by dead matter, but it's infused with the creative potency by the Lord himself. Actually, this pastime with the Lord rescuing the earth it's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, that he's actually impregnating the Lord with her son. Do you remember who her son is? it's a Nara, I think is a demon actually. So anyway, this is the pastime of the Lord. So her prayer concludes that, she submits herself and she remembers how, you rescued me from the Gaudacandra ocean. And this symbolizes his divine protection and care for all beings. And this is why, he descends on the surface of the globe for the benefit of all living beings. That's from that verse. So here we see this all-powerful personality of Godhead in his boar incarnation. So he bears the earth at his tusks. And so the demon sees him and then he just laughs and he says, "Oh, an amphibious beast." So this is the demon. He's trying to insult, Lord Vrahadev. And this is what you do in a fight. You try to get them angry and you try to cause them to become angry so they'll fight with you. So this is what he's began to say here. He says, "This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions, and you cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me." And he continues, "You rascal, you have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic, so today I shall enliven my kinsman by killing you." And he continued, "When you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice in devotional service will also automatically cease to exist like trees without roots." So just see, this is in this verse it's described that even though the demon is insulting Lord Vrahadev, still he tolerated it because what was most important to him was to give shelter to the earth, because she was on his tusks, and so she was more concerned about the earth's safety, than retaliating to the demon. So then the Lord implies, he actually replies, "Indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you're indulging, for you're bound up by the laws of death." So he agrees with the demon, yeah, we're animals, but we're hunting after dogs like you. So then he continues, "Certainly we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatala and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time, because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I have no place to go." So he's pretending to be fear. So we'll find out why is it that the demons are so interested in this earth planet, and it seems like there's always trying to take over the earth planet. And so also here, examples of tolerating the demons. Srila Prabhupada and the devotees were mistreated in Juhu, but they tolerated it, and they stayed there out of the mercy for the conditioned souls. So the Lord continues, "You're supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word." So this is the reply to the Lord. So there's many dramatic activities the devotees have done. There's plays devotees have done, and many of you probably heard a lot of the tapes from the, what is it called? The drama troupe. The what? Yeah, the Vaikuntha players. So it's some nice, there's also a description of this pastime. It's very nice. But talking about tolerance, in the 11th canto, in the 23rd chapter, there's a verse that says, Lord Krishna is actually talking to Uddhava. And he says, "O disciple of Brihaspati, there is virtually no saintly man in the world capable of resettling his own mind after it has been disturbed by the insulting words of uncivilized men. And in the purport there, they describe how in the modern age, there's widespread propaganda ridiculing the path of spiritual realization, and thus even saintly devotees are disturbed to see the progress of human society being obstructed. Still, a devotee of the Lord must tolerate any personal insult, though he cannot tolerate offense against the Lord himself or the Lord's pure devotee. So it continues in the 11th canto. He describes this. He says, sharp arrows which pierce one's chest and reach the heart do not cause as much suffering as the arrows of harsh, insulting words that become lodged within the heart when spoken by uncivilized men. So remember when we were kids, we used to say, sticks and stones may not break my bones. What is this? How's it go? Words, sticks and stones may break, but words will never harm me. But it's actually just the opposite. And here it's proved. You know, these sharp words are like arrows. So then it continues there in this 11th canto. For one who is in the grips of death, what is the use of wealth? Or for those who offer it, sense gratification, or those who offer it, or for that matter, any type of fruitive activity, which simply causes one to take birth again in the material world. And here it's describing the importance of this earth planet. We're going to get into that. So in another verse it says, those who have obtained the human life, which is prayed for even by the demigods, and in that human birth become situated as first-class brahmanas, are extremely fortunate. If they disregard this important opportunity, they are certainly killing their own self-interest and thus achieve a most unfortunate end. So they quote Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in the purport, and he describes how human birth is better than that of the demigods, ghosts, spirits, animals, trees, lifeless stones, and so forth, because the demigods simply enjoy celestial pleasures, and in other forms of life there is excessive suffering. It is only in human life that one deeply considers one's ultimate benefit in the human birth is therefore more desirable than even that of the demigods. So the earth is a very important place. So here another verse from the same canto. What mortal man, having achieved this human life, which is the very gateway to both heaven and liberation, would willingly become attached to that abode of worthlessness, material prosperity? So this is all nicely described. So what's the value of the earth? What's it worth fighting for? Why do we see that the demons, they frequently want to claim the earth? It's a very pivotal place in the universe. And I heard one devotee, Urmila Devi Dasi, was given a class on talking about the earth. And she was saying that the earth is like a training ground. They call it karma bhumi, where individuals are trained in the right conduct and they can progress to any part of the universe. And so when enemies want to take over a country or a society, they take over the schools. So we saw this in many cases, how the Nazis and different people, they would try to take over the schools. So the earth is also a prime gateway for liberation from the material world. Although it's not the only one. It's not that you have to be born in earth to be liberated. From other planets you can also be liberated. So just as we heard from the verse, it's a gateway to heaven and liberation. So the battle for this earth is a recurring conflict between the demons and the demigods, and it reflects the earth's significance. So the earthlings here, they're so vulnerable. They're like children, They're less sophisticated. They don't have mystic powers, so they're, compared to other living beings on other planets. So whatever the earth's condition is, its alignment influences the entire universe. So it's a very valuable resource. So the demons and the demigods, they fight for control over the earth because it holds the wealth of the universe. So we see in so many, we have a lot of these hero movies and things, and they're always trying to take over the earth, the aliens and this and that. So that's, it's all brought from ancient history. So here the demon Hiraksha insults Lord Vrahadev, and he claims that the earth is his. And he criticizes the Lord. But Lord Vraha tolerates this, and because he has feelings for the earth, and his priority is the safety of the earth. So instead of like trying to retaliate immediately, he tolerates it, and he protects the earth. So it's mentioned that, insults are inevitable in our life. And we should focus not on the insult, but what's better for our service and what pleases Krishna and what pleases the devotees. So Hiranyaksha's elimination is necessary, because he was defending himself, but also to restore the balance of the universe. And also we know it's the Lord having his divine sport. So as individuals, we should consider that when we're being insulted, whether we insult others. And there was Edgar Cayce once said, he defined karma, it's like a mirror that reflects your own behavior. So it's, so that's interesting. So we're getting insights into the significance of the earth in the universe and the battle between good and evil, and the concept of tolerance, and the ultimate goal is spiritual service. God is sentient as we are. So can anyone see the Lord's emotions today? It describes how God is sentient, right? So we should be able to see those emotions even today. I mean, we hear so many stories, devotees' experiences with the deities, or experiences in dreams, experiencing Krishna. Does anybody remember one? Have any story to share? Yes, Prabhu. Oh, yeah. So here comes the mic. Thank you.
Prabhupada here in New Dwarka with Rukmini Dwarkadish. They instructed him to go to India. I said, here in New Dwarka, Srila Prabhupada was having darshan of Rukmini Dwarkadish, and there was a lot of things going on in the movement at that time. His position was being minimized. And then the deities told him to go to India, and he said, but I have this nice Vatsika Avenue, and I can make it so beautiful. And he said, I'll give you something better. And then you can see Krishna Balaram Mandir, Juhu, Mayapur, all these projects developed from that instruction.
Yes. The one that I recall is, the Jagannath deities in Mayapur, when they gave some of his Mahaprasadam to, I think it was a Muslim or somebody, and he just threw it on the ground. And then he had a dream, and Lord Balaram was slapping him. He didn't appreciate that. He had feelings. So he slapped him. And when he woke up, his cheeks were all red. And then he came to the temple the next day and, offered his obeisances and asked for some more prasadam. So there's so many stories. Lord Nrsingadev especially, there's so many. We could go on and on. But just to give you an idea. So the Lord has feelings. And although he's pained, he bore the pain. So we talked about demons. And what is the making of a demon? So also the 11th canto describes there how one actually becomes a demon. So he says there, whatever pure fame is possessed by the famous, and whatever praiseworthy qualities are found in the virtuous are destroyed even by a small amount of greed, just as one's attractive physical beauty is ruined by a trace of white leprosy. So we just see even some devotees were finding out they were ruined because they were greedy. They actually wanted to try to take over the movement. They're even doing a film on that. So theft, violence, speaking lies, duplicity, lust, anger, perplexity, pride, quarreling, enmity, faithlessness, envy, and the dangers caused by women, gambling and intoxication are the 15 undesirable qualities that contaminate men because of greed for wealth. Although these qualities are undesirable, men falsely ascribe value to them. One desiring to achieve the real benefit of life should therefore remain aloof from undesirable material wealth. I was just listening to a lecture by Giriraj Swami, and he was quoting a verse from the 2nd canto, and when we're talking about this greed for money, And it just dawned on me, if you want money, not only that, but do you want good investment? In the purport there, Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur, and he says, okay, you want money? So money given in charity to a suitable person is guaranteed bank balance in the next life. So he says charity is recommended to be given to a Brahmana. If the money is given in charity to a non-Brahmana without Brahminical qualifications, the money is returned in the next life in the same proportion. If it's given in charity to a half-educated Brahmana, even then the money is returned double. If the money is given in charity to a learned and fully qualified Brahmana, the money is returned 100,000 times. And the money is given to a Veda Paraga, one who factually realized the path of the Vedas, it's returned by unlimited multiplication. So how can you get the return in the material world? The material world is limited. So how do you get unlimited multiplication? That means you go to the spiritual world to get it. So just see. What you give money to Srila Prabhupada and his movement, this is what you get. So if you have greed for money, then do that. So we can go on and on. There's so many things describing how they destroy the world, corporations, pollution, deforestation, all that stuff. It's all there, consumerism. But anyway, going on about the modern demons, we see so many universal truths about good versus evil, and they're represented by the Lord and the demon in this pastime today. So the Srimad Bhagavatam discusses these philosophical implications and insights into the nature of God, the illusion of material power, and the root of this demoniac mentality. So in this chapter, we could look at some of the verses. It discusses the demoniac mentality. So demons view their possessions as their own property, right? They think they can defeat God. That's in today's verse. You know, you can't take the earth from me. You're going to be hurt by me. And then in verse 4, demons challenge the Lord and try to find and kill him, thinking that'll solve their problems. And in the purport, Prabhupada describes how, you know, there's many examples of demons like Kamsa, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu. They think they're powerful enough to kill God, but they can't. And then the 5th verse, demons disturbed by devotees worshiping the Lord, they try to uproot the source of happiness, and which is devotion to God. So Prabhupada talks about how the devotees are chanting Hare Krishna. They're not really doing anything. But the demons, they can't stand that. They just become envious. And how the demons worship the demigods for power. And then they exploit that power and they try to terrorize that same demigod. So this is what they're envious, exploitive. This is the aggressive nature of demons. But we could go on and on about in the material world too. The different wars, civil wars, and things like that. And the pastime of Srila Prabhupada that he had of trying to get the temple in Juhu. And he explained how it was, you know, it's a struggle between the demons and the devotees. You know, they have their strength. You know, he's a great, powerful person in the society. But yet, he was defeated. And Prabhupada said, why? It's because we were doing it for Krishna. We were working for Krishna. They were working for their own sense gratification. So Prabhupada said, don't stay out late just for money, but come home, you know, come and dance and chant before the deities, and therefore we please the deities, and that's why we were successful. So just one example. There's many examples throughout history of the devotees in Russia, devotees in Kazakhstan, devotees in India. What to speak of conflicts in countries like civil wars and violence in different countries. We could go on and on. But anyway, but there's also the devotees. And they're like the swans. They're untouched amidst the mud of this chaos. In the 5th canto, there's a nice chapter about our path of material existence and how the material world is a great forest of enjoyment. And here we see this description of the lion in the background. I don't know if you can see, but it represents, he actually talks about 32 items on this path of material existence. So I did a video of this showing from all 32 things. It just zooms out. And this is just one slide of that video. And here we see the lion. It represents imminent death. And then you see the herons and the crows. they're actually like the insignificant demigods and the pseudo-swamis and yogis. But here we see the swans. They're the perfect brahmanas. They're majestic and pure. And their wisdom is secure. And they divine truth from the cosmic sea, and their grace and knowledge shall set us free. So there's many places in the teachings of Lord Kapila. Prabhupada was giving lectures on this particular chapter when they were in Juhu. And he related where it talks about the different qualities of a devotee. And Srila Prabhupada related that incident to what's actually happening to them there in Juhu. So anyway, we don't have time to read that. But anyway, I just wanted to show the modern devotees, swan-like men. What is the Hare Krishna devotees doing in this modern age? So they're doing vegetarianism, protecting animals. They're actually serving prasadam where the cows are in the what do they call that? The Goshala. Yeah. And then different prasadam distribution, spiritual education, outreaching to different institutions like prisons and preaching like that. And then, sustainable living. We see Ranaswamy in the eco-village on top there. Environmental initiatives, interfaith dialogue we see here on the top left. He's giving a monk is giving something to a monk. Publishing. So we have our books, we have published media, to the people, to enlighten them, different magazines and things, convey the spiritual teachings and encourage self-realization. And then we have different cultural educational centers, different activities, devotees taking initiations, different sacrifices, chanting like that. And then as I mentioned, if you want to take over a society, you take over the schools. But this is just one country in London. They have so many schools now, it's called the Avanti schools. And this is just to show that in one country, not to speak of India and so many different things. So we're trying to promote spiritual awareness to the children and to the young in this way. So we don't have time for this, but in the 11th canto there's the song of the Avanti Brahmana. I quoted some of those, but he talks about how to deal with difficulties and insults, and how this Brahmana, he gives six explanations that we try to blame for our problems, which are other people, demigods, the planets, fruitive work or karma, time, or the soul itself. So he refuted all of these, and it said it's actually the false ego alone, and the mind, which is very powerful. It influences, it actually activates or actuates the functions of the material modes. So anyway, that goes on. He describes that. And so here, this is Lord Krishna. He exhibits his astonishing qualities, his pastimes in Vrindavan, his activities with his coward girlfriends and boyfriends. Even though they seem ordinary, they're actually spiritual. So this is what happens when we associate with devotees. We get purified by the words, and we actually experience this going back home, back to Godhead, getting free from the material fears. So there it is. Although pained, he bore the pain. So the conclusion is God is as sentient as we are. And in order to give us protection, he's always ready to tolerate. And just to end with this, one time Giriraj Swami was giving a class in San Diego, and this devotee asked him, he said, "Can we see Prabhupada's books as Lord Vraha?" And Giriraj Swami said, "Yes, very good point. As we mentioned, the holy name is the Lord himself. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar." So similarly, Prabhupada's books are also the Lord. And by our distributing them, people will become purified and uplifted, the same way as uplifting. In effect, we're distributing incarnations of Lord Vraha, who is able to uplift the earth planet. So you're absolutely right. So this is it. So there's so many things we can say, but due to time, we'll have to end there. So I don't know if anybody wants anything to say or question or comment. But otherwise, I appreciate your kind attention. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai.